Well, if you're like me, you get your bank statements in the mail, you look at them, you toss them on the side without even opening. But if you keep doing that, you could run into some serious problems. Amy Miller from Bank of Hawaii here to tell us exactly what we could have in store for us if that happens. Amy, thanks for coming in.
Good morning, Steve. Thanks for having me.
Okay, so one of the big things that we hear all the time, overdraft fees,
yes.
right? How do we avoid that?
Okay, so the best way to avoid overdraft fees is simply keep accurate records. It's important to keep track of your transactions so that you know what your balance is. Once you know your balance, then you can avoid overdrawing your account. Now, it's, again, important to keep track of your transactions. So online banking, mobile banking, great tools for keeping track of those and to see when they've actually applied to your account. So monitoring, reconciling transactions, again, great so you know your balance and you don't overdraw your account, but also good because you can ensure that no one else is using it for fraudulent purposes.
Yeah, so gone are the days when you just kind of jot things down in the back of your checkbook. Right? Yeah. Well, what else can someone do if they want to avoid these fees?
Sure. Well, they can have their paycheck directly deposited into their account. This will give them immediate access to their monies. Now, if you're still using checks, don't rely on floating them, which is the time it takes for it to clear. That can put you in the red zone. You just want to stay away from that. Another thing that's really important to understand is that your account transactions, they don't necessarily clear in the order that they occurred. You also want to use caution when you're using automatic payments. Again, they're great and they can make life easier, but you got to make sure that the money's in there when the payment's going to be taken out. So again, great record keeping, as you can see, is really essential to knowing what your actual usable balance is.
You probably also want to talk to the bank because they have certain options that are in place in case you need some help with this, right?
Right. Banks have overdraft protection plans, and these plans have different options. You can have another account whose funds are linked to your checking account, or you can have a pre-approved line of credit established that will cover those checking account transactions. Now, keep in mind the banks usually have fees associated with these plans, so check with your bank to see what they are and see what's the best fit for you.
So what if the customer actually does not want the ability to overdraw their account, or why would they want that?
Right, great question. Right. Customers definitely have a say in how they want their debit purchase transactions to be handled. They can either opt in, opt out, or essentially do nothing at all, which is the same as opting out. What does all that mean, right? So when you opt out, you're making the decision that you do not want the banks to allow yourself to overdraw when it comes to ATM transactions or your debit purchases, one-time debit purchases. Now, if you've selected to opt in, you're making the decision that you're going to allow the banks to consider allowing those purchases and transactions to go through. Now, if they are paid, then you're willing to pay the fees associated with them. Again, very important to understand that this is for one-time debit purchases or point-of-sale purchases and ATM transactions only. So your checks, your automatic bill payments, and your reoccurring debit purchases like gym memberships, they're not covered, though your bank may be able to accommodate for those as well.
Good to know. By the way, Bank of Hawaii is going to have a series of seminars about this topic throughout the year, and look for all of this on hawaiinewsnow.com. Amy, thanks for coming in.
Thanks for having me.